This is The Infinite Way by Joel S. Goldsmith. It's a very good book which you need to add to your library. It has a lot of very stimulating thoughts in it. And the ISBN, the 13 number ISBN is 9780875163093. One thing that's on the front page here that Joel S. Goldsmith says is, the world is not in need of a new religion, nor is the world in need of a new philosophy. What the world needs is healing and regeneration. The world needs people who, through devotion to God, are so filled with the Spirit that they can be instruments through which healing takes place. We are reminded in this book that the great power necessary to dispel the erroneous conditions which surround us must be sought within ourselves, and we are shown how it may be accomplished. We are working as never before that which will free us from the fears, anxieties, and dangers of material living. We know that whatever it is that will give us mental rest and spiritual peace does not lie in the realm of human thought. We live under the illusion that material forces and human will are great powers until we learn that within our own being there is a spiritual power which dispels this illusion. There is a peace be still within our own consciousness which will still every storm in our experience, heal our diseases, lift us above the strife and weariness of human existence. Our part is to recognize its presence within ourselves and let it fulfill its mission. This universal power of truth, life, and love is ours, regardless of which church we attend or what philosophy we follow. It abides at the center of every individual, saint or sinner, awaiting only our recognition. The awareness that human power does not regulate the sun and star in the heavens, the crops in the earth, the winging of birds in the air, these things, it is sufficient faith to move mountains of discord. No greater faith is necessary. What we must do to be saved from the ills and terror of these present days is let the message of this book fill your consciousness with its spiritual import and be patient. Let the harmonies of spiritual existence unfold from within you and lead you out of the bondage of sense into the promised land of peace. Joel S. Goldsmith, the author of this book, was a seeker for truth in all the great religions and philosophies. He devoted many years to the public practice of healing and counseling in all phases of human existence. His unfoldment of the light within is well known through his letters, which for many years have had wide circulation. Infinite Way study groups have been formed throughout the U.S. to study the Goldsmith writings. And that's the key to it, too. You have to study the writings. Whatever writings you're reading, you don't just read them through once, but you study them in order, if you expect to really get the good out of it. Robert Browning said, "Truth is within ourselves. There is an inmost center in all of us, where the truth abides in fullness, and to know rather consists in opening out a way whence the imprisoned splendor may escape. than in effecting entry for a light supposed to be without. There is a way whereby we are able to rid ourselves of sin, sickness, poverty, and the results of wars and economic changes. This way is the exchanging of our material sense of existence for the understanding and consciousness of life as spiritual. Down the centuries, the sense of man and the universe as being material has resulted in the development of fear for the personal self and national existence. This will continue and become even more intensified as more destructive material forces are discovered. The latest of these forces to be announced is a chemical, 1 ounce of which it is claimed would be sufficient to destroy the entire population of the United States and Canada. And even this is probably not the ultimate of material force. There is no material power to overcome either this or the atomic bomb. There is no hope in matter or material sense. The way of security, harmony, and health is through attaining some measure of spiritual consciousness. Now that is interesting that they kept 1 ounce of a chemical would destroy the entire population of the United States and Canada, which shows how much power there actually is in just a small amount of space. And yet we have actually in our spiritual power, we have spiritual power to overcome all materiality, and we have a power to overcome all chemicals and all atomic bombs. That is within us. We have the power to overcome those things if we turn to the Spirit, and which is a much higher and much greater power. Even though 1 ounce of that chemical could destroy the whole United States, 1 ounce, so to speak, of spiritual power is far, far greater, trillions of times greater than that. And so, but it just I want to emphasize that gives us a illustration of how much power there actually is in the universe and how much power there is actually in God. We're dealing with a whole lot of power when we deal with just the things such as these chemicals which God has created. But we're dealing with a whole lot greater power when we deal with the spiritual power which God has. And so there's a lot of power which we have yet to become aware of in both the physical and in the spiritual sense. The great secret is that despite all belief to the contrary, and real power, either for good or evil, does not reside in matter or in the material sense of man and the universe. Those who have acquired some degree of spiritual consciousness have proved in that measure the reality of spirit, the necessity for giving up the material sense of existence for the attainment of the spiritual consciousness of life and its activities is the secret of the seers, prophets, and saints of all ages. That it is practical is proved today by the healing and regenerating works done by many students of modern schools of practical or scientific Christianity. When the world learns that whatever success has been gained in improving conditions of health, wealth, and security in the lives of these modern followers of ancient teachings has been accomplished solely by the surrender of material sense through the attainment of spiritual consciousness, then the world may very well look up with great hope. The question is, how does one set about attaining this spiritual consciousness and thereby lose material sense? The answer is read and study the truths revealed throughout the ages about the universal consciousness, the universal soul or spirit, and about the spiritual creation and its laws. Imbibe this, which is a very interesting word. We need to really concentrate on what that means by imbibe and intensify our degree of imbibing. Imbibe the spiritual sense of these revelations. In this small volume, I have written the spiritual truth as I have gleaned it through over 30 years of study of the major religions and philosophies of all ages, the last 15 years of which have been spent in the practical application of truth in problems of human existence, problems of health, business, family life, and security. Be assured, inner peace will come as one turns to the spiritual consciousness of life, and an outer calm will follow in one's human affairs. The outer world will conform to the inner awareness of truth. The authority for all of this revelation will be you, as you yourself experience this change within and without. We can actually gain every truth that is in this book and in all of the other wonderful books. We can actually gain all of these truths that are in this book by turning sufficient to the Spirit that is within, which will reveal all of these things to us. But in the meantime, we still need to read and study these books. That will give you a huge, huge shortcut to getting there. And I have so many books that I have misplaced the one. But here's a very good book by Deepak Chopra called Golf for Enlightenment. And you need to try to stock your library with all of Deepak Chopra's books. The major one is Quantum Healing. Quantum Healing, Exploring the Frontiers of Mind-Body Medicine, where he talks about how that healing takes place on the atomic level, and that all sorts of powers of healing are within all the spaces in the atoms between electrons, protons, neutrons, and even deeper than that, clear down to the quantum level. And by thinking correctly, we reach the quantum level with our healing power and heal ourselves from the quantum level upward. Deepak Chopra, MD, who is a doctor and also an educator, which had a teaching hospital, chief of staff, I believe, of that teaching hospital, and also now has a new thought and healing school, which people can attend for workshops. I'll get the details on that all later. But he has plenty of interest, rest assured. I'm not going to read all of the things. It would be a long list. But where did I put the I had the infinite way right here to my left, and right underneath it was supposed to be the Getting into the Vortex by Esther and Jerry Hicks, which is the next book which you really need to get into and study. Let me see if I can come up with that book. Okay. While I'm coming up with that book, I'll show you this one. This is The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. You need to get a hold of that book, and I'm not going to have time to put the ISBN on there. I'll get it